4 students vanished overnight. Hannah was the only one found, then died in her hospital room, leaving a single word: Fio. Soon after came Grace Holloway, and when every piece was aligned, all paths converged on one forgotten name: Fiona Carter. A list of names appeared, the ink thick and shaky as if written in a panic. Hannah, Grace, Violet. Names, people who had disappeared. At the bottom of the page, the paper was torn, not by a knife, but by a hasty jerk of a hand. Someone had tried to erase or hide the last name. When Patrick touched the page, the fear manifestation awakened. The ink began to quiver, almost breathing. Cold air seeped through the room as fractures spread, pulling the surroundings into dust. And through the collapsing space, Fiona's world slowly emerged. In the warped, flickering hallway, Fiona hunched beside the lockers, scrawling each name in thick black ink. With every word, the walls around her split a little more. This wasn't memory anymore. This was her fear, taking shape as something dangerously close to a curse. Fiona hesitated, as if gathering the last of her strength before writing the final name. M-O-N-T-I. Her smile twisted, half hurt, half something darker. Then she tore the page and clenched it tight, a faint red smear marking her hand. Whether it meant forgiveness or punishment, no one could tell. Patrick jolted awake, breath uneven as the memory collapsed around him. On the table, Monty's name shimmered faintly beneath the smeared ink. He called her instantly, only to meet an endless dial tone. If what he saw was true, then Monty was already in danger. If I'm right, she's in danger. They sprinted through the night, breath breaking against the cold air. Bridget stayed silent, her grip locked around the hammer. Street lights streaked past and blurred tables, and with every pounding step, it felt like time itself was counting down to something they couldn't outrun. The door crashed open, and the darkness inside felt almost alive. The mirror before Monty had split wide, red light seeping through the cracks like veins. She stood frozen, lips whispering Fiona's name.
Fiona.
From the trembling glass, a pale arm burst outward, gripping Monty's wrist and dragging her toward the violently shaking mirror. Bridget lunged, slamming her out of its reach. Patrick grabbed the emerging hand, its skin rigid and icy, like holding solid steel. The old hallway of Fearlett returned. Fiona moved quietly past the laughter, avoiding every stare. Hannah spoke first, her tone light but cutting.
Careful there, mirror princess.
Fiona lowered her head. Some wounds leave no blood, only words that linger. That shove, accidental or not, no one dared to say. Fiona stumbled, striking the mirror as it shattered down the hallway. A sharp sting traced her cheek, and from that moment, her smile faded for good. All that remained was a crack on the mirror that never healed. Monty stood at the end of the hallway, watching everything unfold. She could have spoken, could have stepped forward, but she didn't. She simply lowered his head and turned away. And sometimes, that kind of silence becomes the deepest cut of all. Fiona stared at her reflection, fragile, wounded, unraveling. Then the shadow emerged behind the glass, as if it had been waiting there all along. A cold voice whispered,
I can make them afraid. Tell me what you want.
Fiona breathed out, barely a sound.
I want them to pay.
As her hand touched the mirror, red light spread like a vow being sealed. Patrick watched Fiona sink into the mirror. No struggle, no cry, just a quiet surrender into the darkness behind the glass. A red glow rippled once, then faded. When he looked again, Fiona stood inside, wearing a hollow smile, filled with a hatred too deep to speak. Patrick snapped back to reality, and Fiona was already there, no longer a memory, but something crossing between worlds. She reached out from the mirror, screaming as if trying to drag them inside. Bridget moved first, gripping the hammer, metal striking the floor. Bridget screamed and brought the hammer down with everything she had. The mirror split with a violent crack before white light burst outward, swallowing the room in a blinding swirl. Fiona's final scream echoed, and then silence. The police had sealed the room. The mirror was covered, cold and empty as if nothing had ever happened. Bridget stood silently as Patrick lifted a remaining shard. Dawn light slid across it, and for a brief second, 2 letters appeared. N.B. Whether it was residue or a warning, he couldn't tell.